Welcome to the hidden corners where truth and terror collide. Discover a realm where the lines between the living and the supernatural blur as you embark on a journey to the paranormal and visit the mysterious hidden corners of your mind. I thought I would tell you a story that occurred several years ago while I was working as a bookseller. It's a sweet story and one that transcends the boundaries of time and place. It left a big impression on me, and it's a wonderful memory I'd like to share with you. I am a book lover. Of anything in this world I could collect, it would be books. Old first editions, torn up used books, or sparkling new books fresh off the press. I love the smell of old books, the feel of the paper, the weight of the book in my hands. An afternoon spent with a book is my favorite pastime. I spent a few years working in a bookstore, and out of all the jobs I've had in my life, that was probably my favorite. It was a small bookstore, only about maybe 800 square feet, but well stocked, small enough to require only one employee per shift, yet large enough to carry a wide selection of classics, as well as the new bestsellers and many unknown authors as well. I was the morning girl. I'd turn the key, open the door, and hear the books whispering to me. It was glorious. I'd take that first step inside, close my eyes, and breathe deep. The next 4 hours of my shift were the best 4 hours of my day. It would be quiet, only a few people wandering through, and I had time to stock the shelves, dust the books, and get to know their stories. I knew every book in the store and developed a knack for picking up a book, holding it in my hands, and within minutes I could tell you the story, the author, the plot, and I could almost see what person it would be going home with. Many customers would walk in, know exactly what book they were looking for, purchase it, and leave. If we didn't have it, we'd order it for them. But always there'd be a few that would wander in, not really looking for anything in particular, and those were my favorite customers. I'd let them browse a while, and then I'd assess them. I'd watch what section they were lingering in, what book caught their eye, and then I'd casually wander up to them and ask, "Have you ever read a Keith Miller?" Or, "Have you read the Book of Flying," for example? Always, without fail, I had chosen the exact book they would want or need to read. Our customers always came back to ask me what book I would recommend next, and I developed quite a reputation for always choosing exactly the books that they needed to read or would most entertain them. It was a fun game. Occasionally we would get visitors passing through our little tourist town that would stop in looking for a book to carry on the airplane. I would then receive calls from faraway places, from customers who wanted to know what else I would recommend they read. It was a wonderful job, and I absolutely loved it. But allow me to get on with my story. It was a day that began just like any other day. I opened up the store, poured a cup of coffee, and went over the receipts from the past evening. I felt a chill, and the hairs on my arms stood on end. I went over to the thermostat and checked the temperature. It was set where it should be. It was comfortably cool, but certainly not cool enough to cause a chill. It was summer, but not quite hot enough to require air conditioning yet. It's always pretty cool up there at the lake, and there was a tense feeling in the air that day, though. Something was different, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. I dismissed it and went on about my business. So around 10 o'clock, the little bell that announced someone was coming into the store jingled. I glanced up to see who had walked in, but there was no one there. Again, I felt that chill. The day progressed with no unusual circumstances until about 3 in the afternoon, a man walked into the store and he appeared to be wandering aimlessly, like he wasn't really looking for anything in particular. I was at the register with another customer, and a few others were waiting in line to make their purchases. The man seemed to be waiting, though, and so I finished with my customers, and then I walked over to him. I asked him if I could help him. May I help you? Is there a book I can help you find? He had this very sad look on his face, and his eyes were misty, and he looked as if he hadn't slept in days. He lowered his eyes to the floor and quietly told me that his wife had recently passed away. His words caught in his throat as he mentioned her name. As I stood there in his presence, a book began to call to me. I know that sounds incredulous, but that is what happened. It would normally occur as I was beginning to talk to a customer. I would get an image in my mind of the book that this person should go home with. Normally, I would go over to the book, pull it from the shelf, and hand it to the customer. But there was something different about this sensation that I was feeling that day. I didn't feel he needed a book as much as he needed words. I didn't really understand what it was that was appearing in my mind. So I led the customer to this section of books on the paranormal. It was a small section of our inventory, barely took up 2 shelves, but there was a book there written by John Holland called Bridging Two Realms, and it was about learning to communicate with your loved ones on the other side. I pulled the book from the shelf, and I noticed a small note sticking out of the top of the book. I opened that page, and a handwritten note fell to the floor. I stooped over to pick it up, and I saw that it was a handwritten letter. I glanced at the customer, and he said, "Read it to me." He closed his eyes, and I read out loud, "Dear Brian, I know this will find its way into your hands. Know that I am okay, that I am at peace. I understand that my departure left you with a void that cannot be filled, and my heart aches, knowing the pain you are feeling. But please, my love, do not be sad. I remain connected to you, always. My spirit lingers, intertwined with the memories we shared and the love we nurtured. Know that you are always in my thoughts, and my presence is always with you. I urge you to find joy in the world that surrounds you, to embrace the beauty of each passing day. Life is a fragile gift, and I ask you to treasure it as I do, and know that I will always be right there, just on the other side of the curtain. Our love will always remain. Beth." I handed the note to Brian, who was standing there with tears in his eyes. My eyes teared up as well, and we stood there for a moment in silence. He took a deep breath and whispered, "Thank you," and left the store. I placed the book back on the shelf and let my hand linger there for a moment in an act of gratitude. That little bookstore is gone, like so many small independent bookstores that have met their fate as people now turn to their phones for entertainment, or their TV sets, or order their books on Amazon. But I will always treasure my days spent at that little store and the memories I have of all those wonderful customers and the books that I was able to introduce to them. The power of words can transcend the boundaries of time and death. And that's why I wanted to put this channel together. I wanted to be able to tell stories. I wanted to be able to write stories. And I wanted to, be able to talk about some of these memories that I have. And hopefully you'll share some of yours as well. So thank you for listening, and I hope that you're enjoying this channel.